I grew up in Columbus, Ohio, Reformed Jewish, and both sets of my grandparents were Orthodox Jewish, so I was exposed to pretty serious Judaism as far as the law and tradition. I went to Saturday school regularly because it was important to my mom, and she basically made me, and I went to Hebrew classes, and I had a bar mitzvah and got confirmed. I didn't have a clue how to lead a godly life, and I really wasn't interested. I was very interested in being in the television business, and that was my identity, was being recognized for being a sports guy around town, and that meant a lot to me, and God took that all away from me, and it was pretty humbling when God sent David Vigil into our lives. There was something very different about David, and I couldn't put my finger on it. It took over a year for us, the process of buying our house and building our house, so we were forced to spend a lot of time with David. He invited us to come attend his church, and he said, hey, no one's going to give you a hard time. We went to the fellowship, and I went hoping to be insulted so I could leave, and 11 years later, I'm still here, Jerry. We had been coming to the fellowship for literally a month, and I'm still waiting to be insulted so that I can stop coming to the church, and in the meantime, instead of hearing what I thought I would hear, I'm like, wow, this is like about everyday life. I don't really want to spend any money to work on this stuff. I don't mind driving 10 minutes in Cinco Ranch to hear these messages, and this is kind of cool, but I don't really want to get too committed. And, you know, the next thing I know, several people at the fellowship say, if you want to go, the fellowship would love to send you and Kelly to the marriage conference. And I'm like, what's the catch? Because there's always a catch in Judaism. It's about the law and tradition, and if you don't do this, here's the consequence. So I wanted to know what were you expecting of me, and nobody expected anything. And once we kind of let our guard down a little bit about that and went the first year, that was really the first time where I ever let all of my guard down and opened my ears and my eyes, and more importantly, my heart opened up to hear who Jesus Christ really was, and it started to sink in. Coming back from the marriage conference, I started reading the New Testament for the first time in my life. I came to the realization about 6 months after the Family Life Conference that I had bad news for myself. I knew the truth for the first time in my life at age 32. I knew that Jesus was Lord and Savior, and that I couldn't do it on my own, and I had to have this personal relationship, or I was going to continue to flounder and struggle on my own. And I knew I didn't want that, and I knew that Jesus was the way, but it was still very difficult for me to cross the line and accept that, knowing part of my family was never going to talk to me again, and the consequences of that, and it just ended 32 years of ignorance when I heard that. So we went back to the Family Life Conference, and that first night I got down on my knees and asked Jesus into my life. You know, the hardest journey in my life was going from here to here. And once I took what I knew here and I put it here, I think that's when I started to change, and hopefully I'm still changing. Kingdom Racing is a 3-year-old project for Christ to promote the gospel of Christ. Our mission is really simple. We want to be excellent on the racetrack. We want to provide premium value for our sponsors who believe in Kingdom Racing and want to help us promote the gospel through motorsports. We are currently a sponsor in the Indy Racing League at the Indy 500 at the end of the month. Davey Hamilton, our driver, is a strong Christian. Amazing story of faith and courage. He had 23 operations after a horrific crash in 2001 at the Texas Motor Speedway. They said he'd never walk again. They said he'd never race again. He finished 9th last year at the Indy 500. He's our driver. We couldn't have a better face on Kingdom Racing than a guy like Davey. 442 million people and 212 countries are going to see the race on May 25th, and hopefully somehow, some way, God's going to reach through Kingdom Racing and touch those people. And that's the beginning, we hope, of a long-term platform for Kingdom Racing to put on City Fest type events and ministry events at all the races, God willing, as early as 2009.